Welcome to the Called Girls podcast. I'm your host, Kayla.
And I'm your other host, Logan.
And today we just wanted to welcome you to our first official podcast. And just a little bit about us. We're just two best friends who have spirit filled conversations. And we knew that it couldn't stay in these things. And if you are watching on Spotify, it's our phones. We just wanted to share it with you guys and just create a safe space for all believers, whether guy, girl, don't mind the name.
Yeah, any one of you guys are welcome here.
Yeah, don't mind the called girls. Those are just for us, literally.
It's just because we're just two girls called to start
Exactly.
this podcast to speak to any one of you guys that may need
Yes.
any maybe like advice or
We're just here to talk, relate to you,
Yeah.
talk about our struggles, just being a Christian and a follower of God. So we just wanted to create like a little comfy space. If you guys aren't watching, we have pillows and blankets. We just wanted to replicate a home
yes.
just to show you that this is like your home, feel at home here.
And like here we're like a family, so
Exactly.
if one podcast we need to laugh together, we'll laugh.
If we need to cry,
we'll cry.
Yeah.
We'll do everything together.
Exactly.
So,
if you don't know, me and Logan are best friends and we actually do everything together.
Yes.
Including this podcast, and we just invite you during this time to do life with us. So just a little bit about us and how we came to faith is going to be in our testimonies, which we're going to be talking about today. This is just a little introduction podcast.
Yes.
And just a little bit about me. So I actually grew up in a Catholic household. We, as a family, went to church on Sundays, but we never lived life for God. We were just kind of just doing our own thing, whatever we wanted throughout the week, and then church was just a place where we felt like we had to go, but then
Like it kind of felt like a routine.
Yeah, a routine. Like we thought that's how you get into heaven and stuff, the basic stuff. But I think when around COVID time, I started to experience severe anxiety for the first time, and that's something I've never up until 2020. I've actually never struggled with mental health before. I was, a happy kid, But I think the pandemic really struck me because just being so isolated, you're stuck with your thoughts. But basically, the reason why I felt so anxious was because we were getting out of the pandemic, so goodbye comfort of our home, lockdown. We were getting ready to go back to school. And at that time, I was getting ready to go into my freshman year. And the principal actually made a notice that we were going to split into groups. And I had no one in my group. So before God, all I cared about was status, friends, just chasing after the wrong things.
Yeah.
But I guess
I feel like that can be so such a desire whenever we're in high school, especially because we see all of these groups of kind of like cliques, kind of. So
and my prime BC days were middle school, so the worst times to not follow God.
Oh, girl, yeah.
But I wasn't getting in trouble, but I wasn't a Christian kid, but I wasn't a bad kid, but it's just you can tell I was broken and lost, and I guess it just didn't hit me until anxiety hit me. So, after I found out that there was none of my friends were in my group, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be alone. I'm gonna look like a loner, like a loser. What is that gonna do to my status and stuff? So then I started experiencing heaviness on my chest, and then there would be just days where I would just stare at the wall and just feel helpless and stuff. I try to do everything, talk to my friends, talk to my family, watch funny videos, things that would usually cheer me up, but none of them were working. And I guess kind of where the seeds of the growing up in a Catholic household, you were always taught to pray, but just never really in a it was never in a relationship type of way. It was just kind
like it
of,
wasn't like, it was kind of structured.
yeah, so the Our Fathers and stuff. But at that moment, I knew that I just needed to be real with God, and I feel like that was the very first time that I was just honest with him with how I felt. I was treating him more of a friend than rather a God. Like, he is God, but he is also our friend. So at that moment, I just felt like, like he was just my friend. And I didn't really feel a difference after that because I didn't believe yet. This was just something that I was like, oh yeah, just pray and then things will get better. But I think it was a couple weeks later where our principal sent out another message about, and it was the day before school started, so I was like getting prepared, still anxious. But then she sent an email saying we're actually gonna move all the classes to online, and it's kind of crazy.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Like looking back, I was actually like so excited because I was also scared of high school. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was like praise report for me, but like when I saw that news, it kind of just clicked to me. It was like for the first time I was like, wow, God heard me. Like, he's not a distant God. He actually like listened to me. So after that, I started to believe in God and pursue faith. And just like started to live life for God, try to forsake my old ways because I was like, if God is real, then what am I doing? Yeah, I need to so I started to just like read my Bible, constantly be in prayer, just do all the things to pursue God. But yeah, that's how I met God.
I love that because like I also just love the aspect of how like you came to God so like honestly, and it was like that was the first time that you experienced him. And I feel like so much of us sometimes we think that God needs us to come perfect and like all put together.
Yeah, that's why people stray away from God because they think that he's just this like perfect like ruler who judges you, but really, like, if you look at the gospel, Jesus came down on this earth as the most humblest form.
Yeah.
And that is the same God who listens to your prayers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also like it reminds me of like how like Adam and Eve were in the garden and like they sinned, but they were so afraid of like coming to God that they hid. But God was like, where are you? But the thing is that God already knows where you are.
Yeah.
It's just that he wants
funny.
you to yeah, but like I feel like with God he wants us to choose to come to him.
Yeah.
And it's not just like oh, I'm coming and like I'm saying all these prayers, but it's also coming with a heart where that's like, I know who you are and I know like that you're listening to me and that you're going to respond in a way that I'll understand.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the moment, but like in hindsight, I know that your hand is going to be in everything that you do.
And I feel like he allows those moments of darkness so that he can shine his light. Because there's no way that I would have ever found God if, honestly, like, if I never went through that anxiety. Because I was just being so distracted by the world and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, getting what I want. But, like, I feel like God really has to put you in a pit just to see his presence, Just silence every distraction.
Yes, and I feel like with the pit, sometimes we're so scared to go there because it's like such a low place.
It's a place we avoid.
I feel like God really just wants us like to be reminded that if we remain strong in ourselves, then there's no point in believing in a God. You know?
Exactly. And I feel like we get closer to God in our pit because we're so dependent on his strength. Yes. Oh, I love that. So that was around 2020. What was your 2020 and forward like, Logan?
So for mine, my 2020 was actually, I feel like that's like where the foundation of my testimony started because that's when I started making like friends. I wouldn't say like they were like people that were bad or evil. Like, like we're all human. We're all the same. But it's like
they weren't godly friends.
Yes, like they weren't people that I know God meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like because of that, because I was like straying more towards like pleasing people and like
Yeah.
kind of like just fitting in, especially because in high school you want to like be like those
If
movies that you
you
watch and
can't
stuff.
tell, Logan and I are the same age, so we were
Yes.
going through the same thing at the same time.
Yes. So at that time, so around 2020, I was like becoming friends with like the people that I was becoming friends with. And by 2021, like we were all coming back to school and stuff, and I was actually facing a lot of rejection. Maybe like towards the late ending of like 2021.
And
And
this was our sophomore year.
yes. So, and it's like all of that rejection, it all came at once, especially with like school because of it being in person and like all the classes I was taking. It was like a lot of stress and like anxiety.
Yeah. And
And
just coming out of a pandemic. Like,
oh
can you
yeah.
imagine, like, go back to reality after being locked up in your
Yeah.
house?
And so like it was really different and it was a lot to handle, but during that time I was actually getting like headaches. And the thing is that like we didn't know like what was wrong. I kept on like taking like Tylenol and just like doing like normal things like, oh, if you have a headache, drink water, you know? Or
Yeah.
like yeah, like just do like the normal things I usually do. But the thing is that like my headaches wouldn't go away. And during that time I felt like that was when I was starting to like abandon my faith kind of. And so my mom, so this was like during winter break, so everybody was off of school right now. My mom decided to like take me to multiple doctors because my actual doctor didn't have enough room, or like she was fully booked for appointments. So my mom took me to multiple doctors, and then so we asked them like, oh, what's wrong? Like I don't know why I'm experiencing these headaches and all the time. And so like they were like telling me, oh, you're perfectly fine, you know, just like drink water, take Tylenol, or, you know, maybe even change your glasses or change your pillowcase. But, anyways, like, so even my mom took me out to do like a self-care day. But the thing is that like these headaches wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
And so, and at that time, like I was getting so skinny, I was getting so pale, and like, you can truly see, like, I feel like you could truly see like my physical body like decaying.
Yeah.
And so like everybody was going back to school already because it was the end of winter break. But then I was like telling my mom like I don't feel good. Like I truly don't feel good. So she
And this, like, your headaches occurred the whole winter break.
yes.
That's crazy.
So like Christmas time, New Year's, like it was there.
Wow.
But so
It's a long
basically,
span.
so like that's how I was like, okay, something's wrong. So my mom was able to get an appointment with my actual doctor, and then but the thing that she said was like, okay, it's gonna be on a Zoom call. And I was like, okay. And so we did a video call. My doctor at first, when she looked at me, she was like, oh, you're perfectly fine. Like, I don't see anything wrong. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. So
Did she, like, not know what you looked like before, or?
I don't even know. But, like, I felt like, I was like, I look so pale. And then, so my doctor.
The Zoom was glitching.
But anyways, like, my doctor was just like, okay, fine. We'll just take a blood test, and then we'll just see like from there. So I took a blood test, and the thing was that my mom got a call from the doctor and was like, okay, you gotta rush your daughter to the hospital because her blood. So if you guys don't know, well, you guys probably don't know if you aren't in the medical field, but basically like your blood, your hemoglobin, which makes your blood cells, I believe, it's supposed to be at a certain number. I think 10 point something. I could be wrong on that. So just search it up. But like
Your hemoglobin.
yes, but
Spell that. No, I'm joking.
but with mine, it was like I think it was so low. Like I think it was like around like 5. And then with your platelets, it's supposed to be like 150,000, I think. And mine were like I think at the 5,000 or 8,000. So yeah, so like my doctor was like, okay, you gotta rush her to the hospital and then just see where it goes from there. So my mom took me to the hospital. When I went there, I actually almost went unconscious. And I don't remember any of this, but like I guess because my mom was there, so she remembered everything. So she told me that during the time when I went unconscious, I forgot who she was almost because the dog
like hurt like as a
oh yeah
I'm not a mother, but like imagine your child like saying, who are you?
yeah
Yeah.
because my doctors like all the doctors around the hospital, like, they were asking me, like, oh, who's this in front of you? And then I was like, I don't know.
Wow.
And then they even asked me, like, the year, and I was like, it's like 2009.
Yes, I'm 3 years old.
Yeah. But yeah, and the thing is that, like, at first, when I first got there, the doctors didn't know anything, like, with my condition. Like, they didn't know, like, what caused it or, like, what it was. And so I actually went, I didn't go unconscious, but, like, I kind of just, it felt like I went into, like, a deep sleep. And then so, like, I don't remember a lot of stuff from what happened, but I remember, like, waking up the next day in the hospital in the ICU, and basically, like, my parents just, like, rushing over to me. I was hooked up to, like, these machines, and then they were, like, telling me, like, oh my gosh, like, I think my mom was crying, and then, but the first thing that they did was, like, prayer. And at that time, like, when they started praying over me, and my mom's, like, friend was, like, over the phone and was just, like, praying over me too, like, I deeply, truly felt, like, the presence of God just, like, overwhelmed me, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, like, God truly, like, saved me.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, I feel like I struggled a lot with, like, not feeling good enough from, like, people and, like, pleasing others. But then when that happened, when I got saved, I felt like that was, like, God saying, like, I notice you. Like, I'm looking at you right now.
No, I feel like I really relate to that last part. Like, what I said with my testimony, like, when God answered a prayer, it just felt like I was just heard and loved the first time by God. Like, I experienced that for the first time and was, like, knowing about it, because, like, I know, like, God is with you and when you're born and stuff, but like, that was the first time of me realizing that. Yeah.
But, like, looking back too, like, it's just crazy because, like, everything happened just on time, because I feel like if I just went with what the doctor said and was like, okay, I guess I'm fine,
you could
like,
have died.
yeah, like, okay, like, I know, like, it's not right to laugh about it, but just, like, a heads up, whenever you guys watch our podcast,
we
and
love
Kayla,
to laugh.
yeah, but it's, like, because, like, that's the joy of the Lord just coming out of us, because he literally saved us, you know?
We're trauma dumping. No, joking.
No, we're not.
We're not trauma dumping, but we just love to laugh at everything, even if it's serious.
Yeah, it's probably not good, but
yeah.
But yeah, so, like, and afterward,
it was around, like, towards the end of school of sophomore year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that time, like, so when I was in the hospital, they made me do, like, treatment. So they actually found out that I had TTP, which is, like, a rare disorder or whatever. And so they made me do treatment for, like, a couple of months. So I had to miss, like, a whole entire quarter of school.
Third quarter?
Yeah. And so, like, so yeah, I missed that. But then the thing is that my doctors gave me the clear afterward that, oh, you could go back to school. And the first thing that I thought was, okay, God, first, I'm stressed because there's a lot of work that I need to catch up on. But second,
they didn't excuse you?
No. Well, actually, they did.
Okay.
Most of them did. But they were like, you just have to do as much as you can. But then the thing that I asked God was, like, okay, I love the friends that you put in front of me that are supporting me right now. But I know for sure, like, for some of them, like, they're not going to pull me closer to you if they're not rooted in you. So I just hope that you guide me to a godly community. And that's when he answered my prayer with you, because you texted me out of the blue. Like, me and Kayla, we didn't talk for, like, these past few months.
We met through Instagram, but, like, we were going to the same school, except we were just mutuals. We actually never had any classes together.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, and I think a little blessing, because we would have just been laughing.
If you guys didn't know, me and Kayla used to work with each other.
And we did not work. But actually around that time, it was fourth quarter almost, or, like, already fourth quarter.
It was already fourth quarter. I think it was, like, in the middle of April.
Yeah. And so a little, like, going back to my testimony, after the pandemic, we went back to school for my sophomore year. You know, can't avoid that one. But thankfully, we were not in groups. And I kind of did the same like prayer as Logan did. I had some friends and they're not bad people, but at the same time, when you're so rooted in God, you want people around you to also,
That are also on fire for
yeah,
him.
so that, your iron could get sharpened too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I decided to not hang out with the friends that I was so sad about not having the last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to go to my one Christian friend.
Mm.
And should I say her name?
No, it's
No, okay,
okay.
but I love you so much because it's the way
They
that
know who
God
they
used
are
her.
if they're watching.
You know who you are. But it's just crazy because that one Christian friend
Mm-hmm.
led me to my future pastor. If you didn't know, our pastor worked at our high school that we went to. Going to her led me to him, and eventually I got involved with the Christian club at school. And yeah, I was just living like so on fire for
Mm-hmm.
God, just focused on God. You know, that first year for God, you're like, I'm saved,
Kinda,
guys. I'm
yeah.
new. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a new person, new creation.
Yeah.
So I was on that high for the Lord, and I was just, yeah, living life for God.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was like towards fourth quarter, the club was ending because school was ending.
Yeah.
And I had
I
this.
think there was only like a month and a half of
Yeah,
school left.
we only had like, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 meetings left.
Yeah.
But I got this crazy tug to invite Logan to the Christian club. And I was like kind of questioning because I was like, God, it's ending. I can just invite her next year. But that tug was so strong. So I invited her, which I'm going to pass it off to her because apparently that was the perfect timing.
Oh yeah, that was because literally, the thing is that like I don't remember. I remember just feeling like at peace because it's like another time where like I was like, okay, God heard me again,
Yeah.
and it's like it's almost like an answered, not promise, but it's just kind of like it's
he
his
knows,
direction, you
yeah.
know, like he knows where to point you, and the thing is that like
But it's the fact that he knows the desires of our heart.
yeah, and it's the thing is like sometimes we feel so like lost and we feel like, okay, I don't know what to do next. Like I know like I'm supposed to believe in you, and then I'm also supposed to like follow your ways.
Yeah.
But I don't exactly know how in this world because
Yeah.
it seems like this world is so opposite of your ways.
And the uncertainty is scary. I guess that's what also led me to like anxiety in the beginning.
But like I feel like this story just goes to show like your obedience affects someone else's walk.
Yeah. So like if you have a tug in your heart, like this could save someone's life. You know, I'm not even like exaggerating. Like your obedience could be what like could be like what guides someone towards God.
And the thing is that like what was I gonna say? I just lost it for a second. Lord, please give it back. I was just gonna say something. Oh my gosh.
But let's just keep going.
No, I'm gonna just say whatever like
Okay.
is on my head right now. But like, it's just crazy to look back to like at our testimonies and just realize like God's hand is literally in our past, in our present, in our future.
It like started before we were born. Like he planned this.
Like he literally knew everything that was gonna take place. And the thing is like what's so crazy is that now I remember.
Okay.
It's like you don't realize like the people that pass you by could literally be the people that God uses in your life. Like if it weren't for Kayla and of course like God, I feel like I wouldn't have been led to the community that I have right now.
And if it weren't for that friend for me, I wouldn't have led to
exactly
our future pastor at that time.
So I feel like it just goes to show like everything has a purpose and each step has a purpose.
And I guess just looking back at our friendship, it's like there's so much red strings to it. And if if you don't know what red string is, it's just basically like things that like imaginary red strings tied together.
It's like I don't know if you guys heard about like the red string theory. It's not I'm not trying to say like this is like
no.
No, but like it's kind of like in a Christian sense when you're
Yeah.
looking at it, it's like God has placed so much things already in
everything in your life is connected. God is just connecting the pieces. Like, all the pieces are laid out.
Yeah.
He's just connecting
But
it.
the thing is that with God, it's like he's not going to connect something for you until it's actually time yet.
Because it wouldn't fit.
Yeah, and I feel like
unless there's another piece that goes there. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah. And it's like you're putting the puzzle together with God, but he already knows the whole entire picture that's going to show up.
No, but it just gives me chills looking back at our friendship. Like, okay, don't take this seriously, but I like to joke that Logan is quote unquote the one, which I know she's not. But like, it's just because our friendship, like, God's hand was in it so much, and the way that we came together was at, like, as best friends, was such perfect timing, and like we didn't even see it, but like God was already working things out for our good.
And I feel like that's also like a reminder for anyone who's watching, like, if you're believing in something so much, like if you're believing like a promise from God, like just know, like, you trying to like keep your eye on it is not gonna do anything.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I'm just gonna tell you, and something stuck with me from another podcast. Shout out to Alios, because her podcasts are so good. But basically, she was like saying how like everything that you predict that God's gonna do is wrong. Like,
like
God's
don't
gonna
even do a Uno reverse on your plans.
Like, I feel like so much times like we're trying to figure out like how God's gonna fulfill something or how God's gonna work something out, but we just have to realize like we're not in the position to know that, because he
that's a lot of pressure.
Surpasses all
Imagine
understanding.
if, like, we had to plan our whole lives. That's,
oh my gosh,
that's a lot of pressure.
I can't even plan a day.
I know. But it's just like, it just comes to show that that is God's position, and I think this is your sign to just back off and trust him. Like, all we have to do is truly just walk with him and follow where he's guiding us.
Yeah. And the thing is that, like, with him, like, when you take that first step of just like even just believing in him and just like just being like, okay, God, I surrender my life to you, and I don't know how this is gonna go, but just take me wherever you want to. You're gonna be like so surprised because like literally when I took that first step of like Christian Club, I didn't even know that I was gonna be like open to all these doors in front of me.
Obedience is key.
The
enemy's attacking.
Yup. The enemy's already attacking because we lost the video. But
well, we're gonna keep going. We're spitting fire.
I think that also goes to show, like, when you're walking in the right direction, don't be discouraged if there's a lot of opposition.
Because the enemy sees that you're gonna advance God's
I'm just gonna
kingdom.
tell you, when
I don't know why we keep looking at the camera. We lost it. If you're listening on Spotify, which will probably be the only place we upload this for the first episode, we lost our camera and we lost the footage.
But that's okay. You know what? That's just
because you're still listening, Spotify.
So hopefully the audio is working. But
I pray.
God has a plan.
Yeah, he does.
And I feel like, you know, like this too. Like, if whatever goes unexpected, you know, just don't like hold on to the fact that, you know, there's opposition. Yeah. But like,
there's gonna be opposition for everything the Lord calls you to.
Oh yeah. Like, even though, so like, I was telling Kayla this like last semester. Oh yeah, by the way, we're in college now.
I know.
Which is crazy. But I was telling her this last semester, it's like, even if something seems like the easier route, whenever God's calling you to something, everything that God calls you to, you need to expect that it's going to be hard. Yeah. Like, don't expect, just because with your naked eye, like, it looks easy for other people. It's not going to be easy, because if God called you, the enemy's going to, of course, attack, you know?
Just a little background about this. I'm in a really hard major right now.
Me too.
And I wanted to switch majors the first semester because the classes, you know, I hit reality that this is not just fun and vibes. It's actually serious work and a lot of things to learn. But Logan just reminded me in that moment that no matter what God calls you to, it's not going to be easy. So it's like, might as well stick to what he said. Yeah. But going back to, we were talking about how you came to the club.
Oh yeah. Sorry about going over. But anyways, we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah. So I came to the Christian club, but there was like a kind of like a gap year of like me before me coming to youth for our like for this ministry. And when I actually like answered the call to do that and take that step, and I'm just gonna like tell you guys like straight up, like before I took that step there was so much opposition. Like it honestly felt like the opposition of when I was in the hospital, but maybe just like a tiny like bit better, because
Not as extreme.
yeah, it's not as extreme, but there was of course opposition. But when I took that step, so much other doors
Yeah.
opened, and
Which
it
is
was like
oh sorry.
it was no, you
Okay.
go.
Which is honestly crazy because before my sophomore year, I faced another anxiety trial, but this time saved. But I realized the reason why I faced that was because my sophomore year was where I was going to get plugged into community, be involved in a church, meet wholesome people. So the enemy wasn't happy and he attacked with the same thing.
But that also goes to show like just because you're saved doesn't mean like you're not gonna experience the things that you experienced
Yeah.
before
I
you
just
got
feel
saved. It's just a little more.
yeah, it'll be like this time it's with God.
Yeah.
You're not alone. You know that you're not alone in that anymore. So it kind of just hits different. Honestly, is a bit more lighter than if you were to face it in the
Yeah.
world.
But when I got into youth, that's when me and Kayla started like getting closer.
Because we would see each other every Friday.
Yeah, and then like because of that, like we would just continue to like talk more and more. But the thing is that like our friendship grew, and then now we have like a girls ministry that we're kind of like not running together, but like
we felt called to just gather a bunch of girl believers, fellow girl believers, just to do life with. And if you don't know what that's called, guess what it's called?
it's called
girls. So we run like a little ministry where we just gather a bunch of girls and just kind of just it's like a little small group, and we just love doing life with them. We've actually had 3 events this past year and a half. And we just love gathering with them because it's just such a sweet time. And if you are a girl that is
on the island of Oahu
and 6th grade through college age, we would love to have you at our events.
Just follow us on
Called Girls. But
like
basically,
description.
right after sophomore year, Logan and I got more involved with, guess you'll never guess the name of the church.
Called church.
Called Church. We got more involved with this church called Church, and basically the rest is history. But we'll be talking more about our testimony in future podcasts, but this is just the beginning of something new, and we're excited. I think we're gonna be starting up an Instagram called.
Yeah.
We don't know the exact name, but just
keep on a lookout.
Look out for Called Girls Podcast.
And on there, so we're planning to like ask you guys questions on what we should talk about, and hopefully we get to your guys' questions.
Yeah,
so
it'll just be topics that you would like us to just
talk about.
Yeah, like
like
deep dive in, but
like the waiting season or like
just school, because we're still in school.
Yeah. But yeah, so
but we're really excited for this podcast to start.
And as you can see, like the enemy's already attacking.
Yeah. Sorry, we got kind of discouraged after it stopped filming.
But that's okay. I rebuke every spirit of doubt and fear.
Amen. But we're going to end off in prayer because we never even started in prayer. But that's okay. The Holy Spirit was talking,
but just know that we started this in prayer.
Yes. But we never filmed it. But that's okay. We can, whatever.
Okay, ready?
Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that we get to gather with just a bunch of believers, whether it's on Spotify, YouTube, wherever they're listening, God. And I just pray that whatever we said would just be for a specific person and whatever they need to hear from you, God. And I just pray that you would continue to bless this podcast, bless the people, bless us, and protect us and guide us. And this is all for you and your glory. We love you. We praise you so much for our first episode. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
See you
So,
next Saturday, Called Girls.
Thank you.